Shalom Hebrew Study Group, Damian Jordan here, and we're going to continue our study of Biblical Hebrew. Specifically, we're going to take a look at verb tables, and we're going to get started right now. So as you can see, we are at blueletterbible.org. We are using the interlinear tools for viewing Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 in Hebrew. And what we're going to do right now is just scroll down a little bit, and what I have open actually is the forward inline tab under the interlinear view. And very simply what I want to do is point out that the second word in the Hebrew text of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 is a verb. Okay, now if we mouse over the button at the bottom, obviously it's got the H at the beginning because we're in the Old Testament of the Bible and it's referencing the fact that this is Hebrew. Okay, now the very next letter that we have here is the V, indicating that this is a verb. And there are other details that we can take a look at further into this. But in particular, notice that it's referring to this as the third person masculine singular. In any language that you study, subject-verb agreement is paramount, of course. But an interesting observation to be made in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 is that the subject in this verse, as indicated here, is masculine plural. Okay? The verb associated with the subject is masculine singular. This is a very rare and interesting mystery where you have a plural subject and a singular verb that is referring to what the subject is doing. What I'm going to do is, having pointed this out, we're going to go to a website which specializes in Hebrew verb tables. That website is Payalimcom, and let's go there now. Okay, so we are at the website Payalimcom, and what we have basically here are Hebrew verb tables. The site is very clean, mobile friendly, very simple in its presentation, but it contains a wealth of resources along the lines of Hebrew verb conjugations, and more simply put, Hebrew verb tables. Okay, you can check the conjugation and meaning of more than 8,000 Hebrew words, once again specifically verbs. But what I'm going to do first of all is point out where it says, for example, it has an example Hebrew word. I'll move over a little bit so that you can see it, and that word right there basically means to go. Okay, and we've got a go button right here. If I move over the other way, you can see it's got a go button right there. So that's why that's there. But let's go ahead and click on Toggle Hebrew Keyboard. And if I scroll down a little bit, you can see that we have the English letters. And then if I click here, it toggles over to Hebrew. Once again, I can click here to toggle to English. I can click once again to toggle over to Hebrew. So however you want to type in the word that you're looking for, you can either type it in Hebrew or you can type it in English. What I'm going to do right now is type in the word create. It's very interesting that, of course, the example that they use here is the word create because it just so happens to be the first verb in biblical Hebrew. It's the second word of Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. So we're going to go ahead and type in create right here. And we'll click go. And what happens is we get results for create. And let me scroll down so that you can see this. Okay, good. So what we have right here is to create, to shape, to create, to do, to make, to create. So we see that basically we've got all of our definitions in one specific understanding, and that is to create. But what we're going to do right now is identify which one of these we want to use. Now that's going to come to a decision based upon the root that we see in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. So let's go ahead and go back over to the interlinear view at blueletterbible.org. What we see right here is that this verb, which means created, is bara. And what we're looking at right here is we've got a beit, a resh, and the aleph. So this is what we're looking for. If I scroll down a little bit so we can mouse over that button right there, we have, once again, the details associated with it, but this is what we're looking for right here. And if I click on the Strong's reference right here, 1254, we see what we have right here is bara, and we have the letters beit, resh, and aleph. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is look for that over at Payalim. This is the one that we want right here. Okay, so while we're looking once again at the different roots associated with the various Hebrew words, we're looking for this one right here, beit, resh, and aleph. Let's go ahead and click on that. And these are all based upon this root right here. Okay, so if we scroll down, we have obviously to create, to shape, and what I'm going to do is click on this first one right here. And you see at the beginning this lamed right here. Okay, when you see the Hebrew letter lamed, don't let that throw you. What that is to. Okay, that basically, as you can see over here, to create, to shape. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on this one right here, libro. Now, the lamed with the hidek underneath it, that's a nikud dotting, and that basically means that the vowel sound that we're going to pronounce when we go from right to left, when we leave the lamed to go on to the beit, we're going to make that short I sound E. So we have li, and that's where we have the beit, which in this case we have the dotting indicating that there's no vowel following. It's simply going to be a consonant after a consonant. So we have the resh after the beit, so that's going to be where we pronounce vro, vro. So there's no vowel pronounced right in here. And of course we have the vav, and when you have the nikud dotting of the little dot right above the vav, it actually doubles, even though it's a consonant, it doubles as a vowel. So you have o, libro, libro. It's a pa'al verb. The root, once again, is beit, resh, aleph. And there's a note right here. The final radical of this word is guttural. This affects the adjacent vowels. So you have big picture details here associated with this verb. Scrolling down, we have the meaning, which is to create or to shape. Scrolling further down, we have the various tenses. We have the present tense, we have the past tense, and we also have future tense. And scrolling down further, we've got imperative. And last but not least, the infinitive, which once again is libro. We're now going to take a look at the person designations. We have first person, second person, third person for the past tense, and so on for the future tense. So you have all of the possible conjugations for the verb to create, or libro in Hebrew. So now what you have is a resource that expands your ability to study Hebrew in regards to the action words of Hebrew. A moment ago, I showed you how you can go to the Hebrew verb tables by typing in, well, for example, the word create in the search field. But let's go ahead and type this in Hebrew. I just clicked on the toggle Hebrew keyboard, and I'm going to scroll down so that we can see that keyboard right there. Well, let's go ahead and scroll down just a little bit more. Okay, and we know the letters that we're looking for are the bait, so let's go ahead and click on bait. And the second letter of the root that we're looking for is the resh, so we'll click on resh. And the last letter that we're looking for, because it's bara, is the aleph. Okay, so we have the bait, the resh, and the aleph. Let's go ahead and click go. Okay, and so here we have the results, and this is actually a more direct route. If you take the time to type in the Hebrew, you'll find exactly what you're looking for, and you can view the full conjugation right away. Once again, don't let the lamed throw you. That means to, okay? So that gives us basically the infinitive structure: to create, to shape. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that the syllable that is emphasized is actually indicated by the color red. So in this case right here, we have bara. You have that second A in red because that's the syllable that's emphasized. Okay, we'll click right here to view full conjugation, and it brings us right back over to libro, and we can scroll down and we have it all right here. Okay, now there's something that I wanted to point out as we're looking at the conjugations. We have in so many of the conjugations the transliteration using the letter B. Okay, remember, bait in Hebrew can either be a B sound or a V sound, depending on whether or not it has that dagesh dot in the middle. So just keep that in mind as you're reading the various conjugations here. You're going to see a B in some cases, but in other cases you're going to see a V in the transliteration because it's pronounced softer. The pronunciation is a softer pronunciation of the letter bait. This in particular is to be noticed in the future tense conjugations. You have the V pronunciation in the first person, in the second person, in the third person of the future tense conjugations. Okay? Now, under the imperative, you have the B pronunciation, the B sound in the pronunciation of these conjugations. So just be aware of that, because whether it's a B or a V, it's still the Hebrew letter bait, the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And as far as the infinitive is concerned, as you can see right here, libro, the infinitive, uses for pronunciation purposes the V sound, that softer sound associated with that second letter of the Hebrew alphabet, beit. So as we return to blueletterbible.org, interlinear tools for Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, we see that this word, bara, is the third person masculine singular conjugation of the Hebrew verb livro. Okay, so livro being the infinitive, to create, but the root is beit, resh, aleph. At Payalim.com, we looked up this verb by typing in create in English. We also looked it up even more directly by typing in the Hebrew letters beit, resh, and aleph. Either way, it brings up the same Hebrew verb conjugation table for this verb. And this is just a way for you to really dive deep into the various permutations, as it were, for the Hebrew verb, which in English means to create. So for Hebrew Study Group, this is Damian Jordan. Thank you for watching, and shalom.